today, I would just try and keep as many pieces on the board, just keep the tension, keep the balance, and then just wait, because Hans will do something at some point, and yeah, provoking him is pretty good. It's a pretty good strategy in general. The one thing you don't want to let Hans do here is find a series of only moves. If he has to find good moves, if you force him to play well, that will only help Niemann. Just give him a lot of choice on every turn. That's normally good strategy against someone who's in bad form on tilt.
Well, a sensible opening move from Magnus Carlsen. Nothing strange about that.
Not yet. So it's the Sicilian defense. Niemann choosing the Sicilian. That already shows ambitious intentions. I'm slightly surprised. I thought maybe Niemann would try to play something solid, just try to survive this first game. But the Sicilian, we've also got to say here, Magnus scores very well with both colours in this opening. And what will Magnus do? He brings his bishop out. No open Sicilian today. The Rossolimo variation, with white's bishop potentially capturing this black knight and ruining the black pawn structure. Magnus, very famous for playing this setup himself as black. Interesting psychology, do you think, here, guys? Playing one of Magnus's favourite openings against him, maybe? Yeah,
I mean, this, as you say, was famously played in the World Championships when Magnus Carlsen was normally black against Fabiano Caruana. They battled in this many times. I don't know why I was thinking this, but I was just thinking who would win a boxing match between the two. It was just going through my head, like, you know, which one of them would I take in a boxing match? But we won't go there.
Ready. They both look ready.
They do, don't they? They're both, you know, young, fit, and quite sturdy characters. So it would be an interesting chess boxing fight, that one. But this is all normal stuff, David, and maybe I'll let you go through the moves and, yeah, as we see them develop.
Yeah, this is still very normal stuff. We have seen a bishop for knight trade and a very flashy knight check here from Magnus Carlsen. OK, we saw it just flash there quickly, but he did temporarily sacrifice a knight. It was kind of a pseudo-sacrifice, so it wasn't really giving up a piece, but it has forced the black king to move. So if you notice the black king, it has lost castling rights, and Niemann stretching there. Svanka?
Yeah, it looked a little bit bizarre. I mean, I think that's a good sign, actually. It's like a power pose to say, hey, I'm here, I'm dominant, I am the alpha male. I don't know why I said that.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's body language, and you can see just the speed he's playing. He's trying to play quicker than Magnus, in a way. OK, slow down a little bit, but there's a little bit of an ego thing maybe going on here, but they're just getting their theory out there quickly.
Yeah, I've got to say as well, when I played at the Olympiad recently, every morning when I woke up, the first thing I do, stretch, power pose in bed before waking up. Just convince yourself. I did read somewhere that it's a way of tricking yourself into thinking that you are.
Yeah. It obviously worked. Well,
but there's a good psychology behind that, just to reinforce. And there we see a pawn move from Magnus. But it's to do with the fact that, you know, often when you're playing chess, you know, you're problem solving, that activates like other kind of things like over anxiety and worry. And instead, if you're kind of like do these power poses, have mantras, it builds up this protection against this.
Yeah, and the position is evolving slightly. So black has lost the right to castle. Black also has a set of doubled pawns on the c-file. But black is relatively active, got a lot of control over the centre. And this is interesting to me because I remember studying this exact position, and Magnus and his seconds have a lot of experience here. I remember Nils Grandelius, a Swedish player, had explored this type of position with white. Some very strong grandmasters. This last knight move for black, maybe not the most critical, if I remember correctly. Black did have the option to be a bit greedy, a bit more ambitious, but Hans clearly just wants to grip and survive this opening. And just to show one or two points before we talk more about body language and the psychology here, but if we just retreat, if we kind of roll back just 3 or 4 moves, Magnus here with white in a very standard position did jump in with a knight check, and this does look like a sacrifice, this check, but if the knight is captured by the black pawn, then this is a discovered check, discovered attack against the black king, and when the king moves or the check is blocked, white will regain the piece with interest by capturing this bishop. So this check was actually refused. Likewise, taking with the bishop would not be good, only opens up the white rook, and instead this check meant that the black king had to move, and although white lost 2 tempi, lost 2 moves with this knight, the fact that the black king here kind of sits in the way of its own pieces, uncastled, that will be a factor long term. And Hans brought his bishop out, creating a pin. White pushed a pawn forward, and if I remember correctly from studying this position maybe 6 months or a year ago, black's critical move is to actually take this pawn, utilising the fact that the white knight cannot recapture. The white knight is pinned after all, and there's a very long variation here that does lead to what I thought was an equal position. And I'm slightly surprised that Hans didn't go for this. If you want to kind of calculate deeply, work on these openings with computers, then I think you would be able to play this move with relative confidence. And the variation continues. White, I think, pushes forward a pawn, and we get a position where white is a pawn down, but will regain it due to the fact that black king is weak, the black bishop is a bit loose. But instead, Hans just putting his knight on this square, and Magnus maybe surprised, just thinking for the first time in the game.
Yeah.
What do we think about this decision by Hans? Not kind of forcing the issue, not being greedy, grabbing a pawn, instead just parking his knight on a nice outpost and saying, OK, you prove it, Magnus.
Well, it actually has been played before. And, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned Niels Grandelius, because, of course, he worked with Magnus. But I'm checking the database, and it says that Niels Grandelius actually beat Nihal Sarin, you know, one of India's promising talents, in this opening with the white pieces. And also Arkady Naidic, a very strong German grandmaster. Yeah.
Changes a lot.
He does change. And he also beat another very strong grandmaster, Roganovich. And just taking a look, I can see that there are like 4 victories for white and about 7 draws.
OK, so no victories for black in this position. And what was white's most common move? Because to me, it's not 100% clear how to solve this pin situation.
This move that Magnus has just played.
So he plays the most common and maybe most successful move, just challenging this strong black knight. This knight is, after all, a very strong piece, holding everything together for black, so it makes sense to trade it off. And I'm assuming that we'll see an exchange here, and maybe the black queen coming into the centre, something along these lines. Maybe black will try and kick this bishop out of his half of the board. Either way, it's a very rich position, a lot of complexities here. I mean, I think black's big problem is that his king is not on a good square.
It seems that if all the active pieces get swapped off, so the ones you've highlighted there, David, that white should just be better because of the king position. I mean, it's not just the black king position, but it's the rook in the corner. Yeah. You're playing a rook down. And obviously, at the moment, only 2 black active pieces, the knight and the bishop. So I like Magnus's move because he's trying to get rid of one of them, just very logical. Yeah. And if you can somehow swap the bishop off, then you're going to leave black with some horrendous pieces. So it seems positionally quite dangerous for black at the moment.
Very.
You know, you've got to try to keep some tension here. If you don't, you're just worse. So how do you keep the tension? Is there any way you can do that here?
Yeah, I don't see it. You're right, Simon. Also, this bishop, from when I was studying these types of positions, this bishop is often just caught kind of staring at a pawn. Just a very bad piece, whereas white's kind of counterpart, dark square bishop, has decent potential. Yeah. You're right, Simon. No way that I see to keep the tension. For example, if the black knight wants to avoid this exchange and jumps into the centre, then white can just challenge. OK, he has taken, but white can challenge this pinning bishop, and we'll just see a bunch of exchanges, leaving black with his poor pieces.
Yeah. And... yeah, so the players have actually chosen something different. I just wanted to highlight one move that was played in this particular position in the game that I referenced between Niels Grandelius and Nihal Sarin. White actually, there's some uncomfortable pressure alongst the knight, and to meet that, white simply just played the rook all the way to the e4 square, attacking the bishop, which I thought was quite a nice move.
Yeah, I remember this game. I think it was in Vaikanze.
Siegerman.
Oh, Siegerman. Yeah, one of these closed tournaments. And Niels played a really nice game there. And there were actually some really nice checkmating patterns later in that game to do with the black king being caught on this square, some back rank checkmating ideas. And this did involve a pawn sacrifice, if I remember correctly. And black can still grab this pawn, but it's much more dangerous now that the white pieces are kind of pouring forward. Black's king is not a happy bunny at all.
I mean, Magnus, like 99% must be aware of that game. Not just because Niels is a second, but he's just got phenomenal memory. He knows all the games and the variation he plays. So he must be aware of that, I would assume. And I mean, with that rook move, David, I mean, what happens? I mean, just for me, I'm just wondering what happens if the bishop drops back. Yep. Something like this would seem like logical to me.
Yeah, hitting the rook.
See if white can make progress. I suppose even if you just drop the bishop back, the rook back 1 square, it's a better square. I don't know, but it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a safer path for black, at least now with the 2 bishops. You have some long-term hopes. At least you can kind of plug the light squares with this bishop. But yeah, long-term, it's quite likely black will kind of get kicked back at some point with a knight, or, well, we might see this coming.
Yeah, he's played it, so...
Yeah, current position is this one, hitting the bishop, and it does look like the safest way is to retreat the bishop, unless you've got something specific in mind here. And I think the speed of Hans' next move will tell us a lot. Either he's prepared this deeply and found an improvement on that game we mentioned, and he's found a way for black to survive, maybe by dropping the bishop back, or he might be facing big, big trouble.
Taking the knight looks suicidal to me. I mean, I don't know if that's what Niemann played, but it looks really dangerous to get rid of your only active piece, and White's pieces are so well positioned. Yeah. The rook, the queen, the bishop, the other rook coming over, Black's king badly placed, Black's rooks badly placed. This looks just visually terrible for Black. Even if you win a pawn, so what? It doesn't make any difference here. So, yeah.
You're right, Simon, you don't even have to calculate. You just see the Black king stuck and you play this position with White.
Totally. And I also just want to point out that if you look at the clock times as well, if you were to compare them, you'd see that Magnus, just over 11 minutes, while Hans is just over 7 minutes, which suggests to me he doesn't quite know this particular line. And so he has retreated the bishop. Now, one kind of very professional way is to repeat the position twice, just to dangle that draw and then just diverge. And,
so you're expecting Magnus to go back where he came from, that white rook?
Yes.
Just tempt Hans to try and go for the draw, the repetition, and to say no?
It just seems to be the trendy way to do it. You know, I saw Wesley So do it numerous times on every occasion. We actually saw in the FTX, someone kept doing it. Who was it?
Wei Yi.
Wei Yi
was just like phenomenal with it too. Every single time he got a chance, he loved doing it. So
yeah.
At the Olympiad in round one, I played a game against Cyprus, and afterwards I talked to the English #1, Michael Adams, and he was like, "It's a miracle that wasn't a threefold repetition." But I was like, "Don't worry, I was repeating twice every time just to tease my opponent and
torture them."
It does make sense to kind of, especially when psychologically Niemann is so fragile right now. He's so I mean, you can play on that maybe.
Yeah.
So, what happens if he plays rook e1 and then he says draw over the top of the computer and Niemann says yes, and then he goes no, only joking. And he says, I haven't offered a draw on the computer. And then he sort of says, what happens then?
Not sure we'd see that in adult chess. Maybe
no.
Junior levels.
Like a fist fight in the arena.
Well, yeah, you get that boxing fight there.
We did have a move from Magnus, nothing dramatic happening.
No, rather than retreat the white rook, he's just attacking the black queen first, and wherever the black queen goes next, we'll see the white rook commit and retreat.
You did mention it, David. Hans being a little bit fragile. A tilt yesterday. We're wondering, will he make a comeback today, or will the tilt continue? We're going to go down to Sverre in Miami, being close to the players, interviewing them. And Sverre, today we heard some short answers from Hans. Yesterday in your interviews, very short answers. How do you read Hans's mentality right now?
It's quite the difference from how he started out in this tournament, because he was one of the more vocal players. I mean, I think he was close to world domination in the interview we did prior to the tournament. Now he's a little bit more unsure, but I asked him to join me today for some takes and such prior to starting, but he was just a plain no. That was not an ability, and it's a bit of a differing personality. So I am a little bit worried about Hans and how he manages to reset for this game against Magnus.
And yeah, you mentioned also an interview before the whole tournament started. What did he say to you in that interview before the FTX Crypto Cup?
It was quite interesting because Hans he's a fascinating player and he's a fascinating person, and he's extremely sociable. He's extremely friendly. He's a character, unlike anything we've seen in chess, but he has such extreme faith in his own abilities. I mean, this is a guy who's increased his rating during the pandemic when everyone else has been pretty much sitting silent, but he's also a player who may not have this live experience that so many of the other players do. So it's an unknown territory for him, and I think he still has a little bit of maturing to do when it comes to how he handles the losses and how he actually handles the slaps in the face that will come when he faces the top players in the world.
Absolutely. Very interesting, Sverre. Talking in the interview with Sverre before the tournament about world domination, he really does seem like a confident guy. And then he does, as Sverre says, have these slaps in his face from time to time.
And it was an interesting point. Before the pandemic in 2020, he was rated about 2,400 to 2,450, and now he's gained over 200 points in less than 2 years. So, I mean, he's on a massive upward trajectory, and yeah, sometimes when you get your first setback or when you get a series of setbacks, it's just so hard to recover. You need a few months to kind of consolidate that gain that you've made. Just even plateauing, even keeping your rating is a big gain. But I think just because he's in this mindset of, okay, I can do anything, I think that's why he's kind of reacting as he is right now. But yeah, he's given interviews in the past. He said he's the most talented American player since Fischer. He definitely doesn't lack for self-belief. And
more talented than Hikaru? That's what he reckons?
His words, not mine, Simon.
Fabiano?
His words, not mine.
The list could go on. Wow, that's a big statement, that is.
So he just needs to back it up now. But I think no matter how this match goes today, he'll just want to post a good performance in this tournament.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be aiming to win it. I mean, nobody comes in their big breakthrough year and suddenly beats the world champion, beats everyone, all the top players in a row. You just need to kind of give yourself a little bit of confidence, some self-belief, and go from there.
Yeah. It was really interesting, actually, when it comes to self-belief and what kind of things you should be aiming for. Because we did some work with the England team performance coach, and he was saying to us, you know, you should never have aims that are results-based, because you can't ever control the outcome. So if he goes in there and is like, OK, I'm going to play good, exciting chess, this is my aim, he can control that. He can control his attitude.
Yeah.
But he cannot control whether he will win, so to speak, because, you know, that's actually dependent on Magnus as well.
Yeah, even if you play a perfect game, if your opponent plays perfectly as well, it's just going to be a draw. So that's really interesting. You've just got to feel like you're playing well, and yeah, he just needs to make himself, or at least trick himself into thinking he's in the flow again and playing well. And it's not to do with external factors like tech issues. It's not to do with the opponent. It's just him just focused on his own kind of his own game right now. But I do like what he's been doing, Hans, over the last few moves. Black does still have the bishop pair. You were right, Simon. Don't trade off your bishops in this type of position. And he's also blocked White's pawn in the centre of the board with the black queen. Queens aren't great blockaders, but for now, it looks pretty sturdy, this setup.
I think he's playing very well at the moment. I mean, I like what he's done on the king side as well. He's moved those pawns, so he's actually made White's bishop a little bit bad. Yeah. And those pawns, the G and H pawns, have potential to run up the board and actually attack the White king at some point. You could use them very proactively, and he's playing very well at this moment in time. So he's you know, if he keeps this up, he's you know, going to really challenge Magnus, actually, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not sure this is a Magnus type of position, because Magnus wants to invite all of his pieces into the game. He wants to get this rook working somehow. He wants to get his queen to a better square. But he has to deal with ideas, active ideas from his opponent. And, okay, just a calm little pawn push here. Is this a good idea, giving the White king some space long term, maybe giving the bishop a retreat square? Or is this what we call a hook, where Black can kind of use this pawn to open up lines later towards the White king? It's a bit risky from Magnus, what he's doing. Black still needs to get this rook in the game, but I mean, if you could somehow magically teleport the black rook over his own pieces to this square, team up against this backward pawn, suddenly Black would just be strategically winning. And Hans may be trying to do that, maybe trying to just move his king across, move his king out the way, connect the black rooks.
I was going to ask the question, because you kind of highlighted something that was kind of bothering me a little bit. You know, White has an OK position at the minute, but they do have some long-term weaknesses, and that is this backward pawn sitting on d3. Can't push forward. I mean, how is Magnus good? I mean, is he good at dealing with these types of structural disadvantages?
He normally hates accepting long-term structural kind of deficiencies in his position. He wants to solve them immediately. For example, he would love to push this pawn forward at some point, trade it off, but it's just not possible right now. If he were to have done this on the last move, for example, this pawn would drop. Also, on this d-file, you are pinned, so you're not really achieving too much. So instead, Magnus, he's trying to push this pawn forward, a bit of a minority attack here. It looks like these are double pawns, they're weaknesses, but actually they control a lot of important central squares. So Magnus is trying to deal with the control of these pawns by pushing forward, trading off a flank pawn for a slightly more central pawn. It does look slow, though. It looks very slow.
Yeah, I mean, Hans's idea is just move the king and double rooks, as you said.
He's done it.
And he's playing this. I mean, I thought Magnus could have tried throwing the f-pawn forwards, was a bit more challenging, but OK, he's trying to maybe just improve his pawn structure. As you both said, this is more Magnus style. But
what would you guys do now? Would you kind of trade off here? It does slightly improve the white pawn structure.
I think I just double
Opens up the white rook.
Double rook, yeah, I agree with you.
it.
Just accept that there's going to be some double pawns on the board and continue with the plan, be consistent.
Yeah, these double pawns, I guess they're only as weak as the pieces that can attack them, and white doesn't have kind of the possibility to attack them over the next 2 or 3 moves. So, yeah, suddenly this black rook, which we've been moaning and complaining about, suddenly it's ready to come and target this massive weakness in the white camp.
Prefer black.
Yeah, I agree.
I actually do prefer Hans' position, so he's doing...
All right.
I mean, maybe he's going to prove he's the most talented player since Bobby Fischer. So, yeah, good stuff so far. Very impressive.
And he's played exactly what we've just showed. We're heading in this direction. He's even... OK, we do see this recapture, so he does have these double pawns, but I was going to say he's just going to bring his rook across. Everything connected for black now. The black queen looking nice and pretty. The black bishop pointing down at this pawn. The only problem is that the black king is slightly weak, slightly loose long term, but not an issue right now.
Maybe it's something in the air in the Miami arena today. It's looking good for also Levon Aronian with the black pieces against Jan-Christoph Duda, and the bar also over to Anish Giri's side with the black pieces against Pragnananda. And we do have some stats for the players here in the FTX Crypto Cup when it comes to games with the black pieces. So when we look at the black score, Magnus Carlsen this season has performed the best, 62% score with the black pieces. Hans Niemann, he is in the bottom of that table, only scoring 34% with the black pieces. But his tide's turning now for Hans. The bar is going over to his side.
Yeah, I guess in a one-off game, anything can happen. But yeah, those stats, they do surprise me. Firstly, that Magnus is scoring so high, because 62% with black is phenomenal.
Wow.
Magnus scores really incredible with white as well. So that's yeah, really high percentage. Normally, even 50% with black in a tournament like this with all the world's best players, that is good. But yeah, Niemann needs to improve. And OK, he's playing consistently, doubling up his rooks.
Yeah.
I'm just really loving his position. I'm surprised the evaluation bar is actually in the middle, because what is white even doing? I guess the other white rook sat in the corner has to swing across. There we go, sit passively defending its backward d-pawn. But all of white's pieces are very stuck right now. Maybe the computer just thinks it's roughly level because black can't improve. Maybe black's maximised his pieces. They're all on their kind of perfect squares right now. How do you continue kind of creating pressure?
I mean, imagine swinging the queen over to keep hitting that weakness and preparing to advance your kingside pawns is very, very natural way to play. Because at the moment, this is one weakness in the middle that black's aiming everything at. I mean, black's pawns in the long run on the queen side are a bit ugly. Double pawns means pain, and you've got the isolated pawn. But at the moment, the main problem is white's backwards pawn, which you've all pointed out. So let's just keep attacking that one. Swing the queen over, attack that, prepare your pawns to go forwards. And this seems like you can keep improving his position at the moment, which is putting Magnus on defensive. He's already had to play a defensive move with his rook to defend that pawn, and it's not nice defending a weak pawn like this where you're going very passive. Not something that Magnus would want to do, I'm sure, before the game. So, yeah.
Definitely, and certainly not with the white pieces against someone who he will really be expecting to beat. And
how would he react here? I mean, does he have to retreat his knight to a bad square, or can he maybe throw a pawn forward, try and solve his problems tactically? I mean,
I think he has to go aggressively, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, moving the knight back looks just so passive, and then the H-pawn might come. I don't know. I mean, all the white's pieces are just defending, and that's not Magnus, is it, to play like this? But I like the idea that both of you suggested of moving that pawn forwards, right? I mean, that looks like at least something you could try. I don't know if it's any good, but
same. I'm trying to work out. I guess the idea would be to jump forward with the white knight. It is a fork, but the knight can be removed, and I mean, it's just one-way traffic. Okay, Hans has played the move we expect, and a position like this, black is just a pawn up. Yes, we've managed to alleviate some of the pressure, but black can still come back after this pawn, and Magnus has played the very, very ugly knight retreat that we were talking about. He just couldn't find another way. And yeah, the evaluation bar hating this for Magnus. All of the white pieces tied down defending this one weakness, and when you go passive, it's never a good sign. And white has stepped back, therefore black should step forward. That's the philosophy, right, Jovanka?
Definitely. And it's a no-brainer.
away.
Hans Niemann starts advancing his pawns forward. And what? Magnus is just put his knight back to its starting square. I mean,
He's just lost 2 moves again. Earlier, he lost 2 moves with the knight in the opening, as we showed. There was a purpose there, but he's lost 2 moves again just to force black to commit this pawn. I guess he's eyeing up a weakness on this square, but...
What a result this will be if Hans wins with black after after everything that's happened, you know? That'd be amazing. So, yeah, I mean...
What should Hans do here? I mean, it looks really bad for white, but we need a breakthrough.
Is the idea if black takes the pawn, white can take a pawn as well, kind of thing?
For example, if the bishop captures this pawn, white can capture this pawn, deflecting away the black queen. And now we would just see a bunch of exchanges on this square and probably just an equal endgame. I don't think this is what Hans wants to achieve. He will want more out of the position, so he won't take this pawn. Instead, what can he do?
I mean, I was tempted to. Really didn't like the idea that you kind of suggested, which is white pushing the e-pawn 1 square forward just to jettison itself away. Maybe you could stop that, okay. and then perhaps activate the dark square bishop. Just kind of forget about your pawns.
Is there an H pawn to worry about? I don't know.
It's coming.
Yeah.
The H pawn is coming indeed, and this pawn hits the bishop. The bishop forced back. I like this configuration because now this bishop cuts off the only escape square for the white king. It's going to be all sorts of background checkmates now against the white king.
And also, white can't now push the H pawn up, which was maybe a possible threat. Yep. So all of these pieces, and now maybe your plan, Jovanka, and then you can move your dark square bishop somewhere, and it just seems like this. Your G pawn. I love this position for black. I really love these kind of positions, and he's played it. Yeah.
Perfect chess right now, Niemann.
He is, and he's got a big attack brewing as well, hasn't he, against white's king? With all you need to do is push that G pawn, right?
Yeah.
Surely.
I mean, look at the white queen as well. She's stuck on the wrong side of the board, doing absolutely nothing, and therefore it makes complete logical sense that an attack would come against the white king soon.
Do you see that body language? You see Hans was like, got his suit and like, you know, he's pulling his collar up. He's like, yeah, I'm the daddy. I'm the daddy. I mean, I just hope we get an interview if he wins this one. I mean, he's obviously a long way to go. If he does, it's 4 games.
But I mean, where would you rate that comeback after what happened yesterday? And black pieces against Magnus Carlsen?
Unbelievable, you know. I must admit, you know, seeing him today in the interview with Svara, also seeing his reaction yesterday, also seeing the reaction as well that he had when he played FTX Road to Miami and the last 2 days of preliminaries, he completely tilted.
Yeah.
I thought it's a no-brainer. You know, Magnus is just going to steamroller over him because, you know, Magnus is a shark. You know, he said it himself, you know, when he smells blood, he will pounce.
Yeah.
And instead what we're seeing here is some fantastic chess by Hans. And this is what we want to see him, just play on a move-by-move basis. And suddenly, just like that, I'm loving everything that Hans is doing. And I hope he manages to achieve something. This is what I want to see. I love the underdog. What can I say?
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah. Yeah, well, actually, talking about everyone does, OK.
Oh, and look at the bar.
Yeah.
Is this a blunder by Magnus Carlsen?
It's maybe not a one-move blunder, but it does not improve the white position at all, and it just gives black a free move to continue that attack that Simon was mentioning. The attack will brew against the white king eventually. Eventually, black will prepare a pawn break to push the black g-pawn forward, and I don't really see what this move does for Magnus.
Can you move the bishop around to defend the h-pawn? He has, yeah. I mean, you could have gone the other way, but this is just very nice. Improving, this is like Magnus chess. Yeah. You know, Magnus would play like this as black. Tie your opponent down, improve your pieces, and then break through. But the thing with this game, he's got to do that breakthrough at some point, and that's when Magnus will get some counter chances, I'd imagine. Yeah. You know, whenever he pulls a trigger on the position. But this is it's a scary plan anyway.
I mean, firstly, I've got to point out, look, Magnus has retreated his knight again. Ooh. So over the last, 6-7 moves, Magnus has started with his knight on this square. He retreated it once, brought it back where it came from, and retreated it again. So he's wasted 3 moves with this knight alone.
And here we come.
The breakthrough has happened.
Yeah,
it's
consequences.
Happened. We're expecting maybe the black queen to capture on this square, hitting the white rook. And, for example, I mean, I'm struggling to find a move for white here. If the knight goes back where it came from, the black bishop will just move out the way, the rook will swing across and go for checkmate.
Let's take him to bishop, also probably similar. And it's so easy to play for black, this position as well, isn't it? If you've got the black pieces, you line everything up against white's king and attack. And it's really enjoyable playing such a position. So
you're 100% right, Simon. I mean, if you showed us this game and said this is Carlsen against Niemann, you would assume it's Carlsen with black. It's Carlsen's opening with black. It's Carlsen's style with black. And yeah, I mean, Niemann's just played a perfect game so far. And
we'll find out in a minute. Hang on a minute. They got the board the wrong way around. Oh, no, it is actually Carlsen.
It crossed my mind, but we did see Hans Niemann's screen from the back, so he does have the black pieces from his side.
And also his body language is quite clear that, he's enjoying this game at the moment.
Yeah. And, OK, the pawn is kicking away the bishop. The bishop will just take a step back where it came from, most likely, and the attack continues. This bishop will move out the way, maybe even this diagonal, hitting the white rook. And then the black rook will swing over. Simple chess. Looking very good for black.
Very effective, I have to say. Definitely looking fantastic for black. I mean, I just wanted to have a look what the computer says. Whoa, computer's like -3 in black's
-3, wow. I mean, there's so many moves that black's got. I mean, that bishop can now come the other way, the dark square bishop. Rooks, I mean, there's hundreds of ideas in the position. The time, well, Hans has got enough time here as well. Can he keep his cool? This is the thing, because he's obviously he's this emotional player. He knows that he's doing very well here. He knows he's got a great chance of beating the world champion with black. This is like the real test now. It's like, can he finish the game off? Can he keep his cool? Which, you know, I mean, this is going to be the big question now, I think.
Yeah, it's like a star striker in football. He's about to have a shot on goal. It's just keeping his calm. He's just got to keep doing what he's been doing so far, just not kind of getting too emotional, not getting impatient, hasty. He's just got to pull the trigger at the right time. And as you mentioned there, Simon, the bishop goes this way. Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the two bishops at the best of times, but these two black bishops just look glorious. And easy plan, next move. You can almost pre-move it. Black's rook in the centre, just swinging across behind the black queen.
Beautiful position. Absolutely beautiful position for black.
Total domination.
He's going to have to play quite hard not to win this. Yeah. As in, the moves are quite easy to play. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm sure I would manage very easily, but
I'm sure Magnus would defend against most people in the world. But
yeah, it's true. Magnus is Magnus, isn't he?
Yeah.
He'll take any opportunity he gets.
The thing is, Magnus cannot, you know, do any active operations whatsoever. He just has to curl up in a ball, defend his king, and just hope for the best. Just try and create problems and survive on a move-by-move basis.
What do you think Hans is thinking now? He must be like, you know, sit on your hands, calm down, I don't know, or like, kill. I'm the daddy, come on.
Well, we can have a look at him right now. I mean, he just looks like he's in calculation mode. And just as I said that Magnus has to go on the defensive, he goes on the counter-attack.
Well, I mean,
we should mention as well, Magnus's big weakness on the tour last season and this season, I say big weakness, it's relative, it's his only weakness, Magnus. He does like to put his queen on the wrong side of the board, and occasionally he gets checkmated. If we remember last season against Dubov, this season against Pragnananda, Magnus has actually had the white queen on this square and been checkmated on the other side of the board while his queen is kind of distracted. So I'm just getting flashbacks. I think actually against Prague, the white queen was on the A5 square. Against Dubov last season, the white queen was on the A5 square. He got checkmated both times. I mean, we're going to see lightning strike again.
Is there a bishop sliding in?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Can the bishop just move itself to the E4 square?
He's just slide the bishop in.
We saw Magnus just kind of shake his head there, close his eyes and shake his head.
I mean, is this game over?
Looks like it is.
Immediately. Oh, you're winning material here.
Yeah.
You're winning a rook, right?
Yeah.
I mean, an exchange at least.
Definitely.
Will we see a result any moment? I want to show this on the board, but I think we might see Magnus Carlsen just throw in the towel and forget this game, because it's disaster.
Wow, this is incredible. I just did not predict this after everything that's happened. And
after everything we said?
I mean, Hans coming out the black pieces, playing this is just what we want. Look at Magnus. He knows he's and also he's just been destroyed by the Hans monster. So,
I mean, anyone can lose a game. Magnus can lose a game, but not in this fashion.
No.
So one-sided the whole game. Ever since the opening, it's just been Hans smoothly outplaying the world champion.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible game, actually. So, yeah, I mean...
We should mention this bishop cannot really be captured. I mean, maybe it will be, but if it is captured, the black rook will come down and take the white rook on the d1 square. White's rooks are skewered, they're pinned. One of them's dropping to the black bishop. And, I mean, material, and you're facing a scary attack. OK, Magnus just grabs a pawn there, and now the white rook will drop.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the exchange, it's black's still attacking. So if it was just the exchange, you can try to hold on, but black's attack continues, and there's more pawns that are going to drop. Black's rooks can come in, the bishop can come in. It should be completely over now. And yeah, this would be a good time for the laptop to go down, right?
This is only hope now.
Yeah, or the mouse to stop working or something. But...
Yeah, we do have a result in the arena. It's a win for Levon Aronian with the black pieces against young Christoph Duda. Also, Alireza Firouzja and Liam Leh have played a draw in their first game. But are we about also to see another win with the black pieces in the arena? Hans Niemann, the bar all the way over to his side against Magnus Carlsen. What a win that would be.
Yeah, and he's doing the right thing. He's pausing. He's not being impatient and just kind of playing moves, because that's when blunders happen. He has calculated that he's completely winning now. We'll see a rook trade. And, OK, White's knight retreating. How many times has it done this dance? This is the third time White's knight has ended up on this square. And, OK, it's attacking the black rook. As long as Niemann chooses a safe square for that black rook, he's going to win. Look at the white pieces. They're so sad. That white bishop, the white knight.
He's grabbed a pawn. I mean, why not? I mean, there's other moves, but you're right. White, I mean, you can't not win this position now, surely.
You're right now, Simon. There's no chance to come back.
Absolutely nothing to be done. I mean, just look at the poor bishop that's sitting there on the h2 square. I mean, it might as well be a pawn.
I mean, this move is a killer. You're threatening to, you know, just take the knight and checkmate. Yeah, you're right, Jovanka, and you're also not just the exchange up, you're pawn up now as well. So, I mean, any ending is just trivial. The king comes out. Where's the killer blow? There's a couple here, surely. A couple of killer blows. I mean, you've got many winning moves there.
You can take a pawn with your bishop, with the black bishop. You can even just capture the white knight with the black rook. I think that's just a straightforward win. This is the most simple, and
Ace resign. Wow, what can I say?
What a result.
Phenomenal, right? Phenomenal.
What a result. Yeah, you said it, David. Incredible start to the day for Hans Niemann, the lowest rated player in the tournament, with the black pieces, a win against world #1 Magnus Carlsen. And now I'm curious to hear some reactions from Hans in Miami.
Hans, yesterday was a terrible day for you, and today you start out with a masterpiece. How would you summarize it?
Chess speaks for itself.
Is it something special doing this against Magnus, Hans?